The one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. Hey everybody, my name is Jesse Crisanti. Work ethic is kind of an interesting thing because I come across a lot of people who are willing to work very hard to avoid work. And I've also come across some people who are utterly pathetic because they allow themselves to get in a position to where they do the very bare minimum of what they have to do and what they have to accomplish, and they end up basically not on the street, but like they end up in a position in life where everybody has to help them, where they have no sustainability and they have no self-sufficiency, and they find themselves at the whim and the beck and call. So similarly to if you rack up your credit card debt, you become indebted to the banks and to the cardholders. You know, your money basically is not your own, and all you can do once you get to a certain spot, once you've spent so much fake money, is that all you can do is just spend all your money just paying off the interest. And I've met people who, with such a lack of motivation to take care of themselves, have put themselves in a position to where all they can do is depend on others to get anything in life. Today we're talking about having a strong work ethic, and we're starting with initiative. Now, in order to understand the importance of a strong work ethic, you need to understand that it's not going to start with somebody else. Like, you have to want it. In the same way that a drug addict gets recovery, it doesn't matter how much outside help they get, if they don't want it, it will never happen. Okay, so the same thing's going to happen when you're developing a strong work ethic, because if you don't want to improve your life and you don't want to change the status quo, if you have gotten to a level of laziness where you can't even imagine not depending on others to basically hold your hand through life, then you're never going to improve in that area, right? So in this case of developing a strong work ethic so that you can support yourself and that you can be free from the inability to do what you want or acquire what you want to acquire because you're waiting for somebody else to come along and do something for you. Like, there are a lot of young people today who will do the very bare minimum in order to have an easy life, to not have to work hard, not understanding that they are crippling themselves and that they are putting themselves in such a terrible position. And it becomes very interesting to watch them wonder why they are in the position that they're in. So I may have mentioned it before, I am a manager at a restaurant and I deal with a lot of people. One thing I try to cement in their minds is that if they can just do a little bit of extra work on the front end, they can save themselves a lot of work on the back end. Okay, so this would be, an example of this would be cleaning up as you work, as opposed to just having a huge mess at the end of your shift that you have to clean up. Because either way, it's got to get cleaned up, but are you willing to do 5% of it here, 5% of it there, do a little bit over here? Or do you just want to have a gigantic mess at the very end? I almost hate to give an example because I know some people might actually watch this video at some point. There's an individual at my job who I feel for the guy because he is so far at rock bottom, which is where you need to be to improve. So this person, if you ever watch this, you're in the right spot to move up. This young man, if ever he had a vehicle to drive himself to work, it was such a beater and, rarely works sort of thing. There was an instance where my elderly general manager, her parents, who are the owners of the restaurant, had to go pick him up for his shift one day. And I said, what a pathetic place to be in life, that your elderly bosses, even more elderly parents, are having to come pick you up for your shift. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard for me to even fathom being that useless. Honestly, that useless. Not only to everybody else around me, but to myself. Maybe just because I've been married and I have kids now, like, I have other people depending on me, and that's sort of the thing. If you find yourself, like, I guess if you can afford to be useless to people, that's on you. Maybe that's a hot take, I don't know. The thing is, if you're single and you have absolutely zero ambitions for anything in life ever, I guess that's fine. But there may come a time where you're gonna need to at least have the capacity for someone to depend on you for anything, even something small, and if you are in a position in life where you can't do anything even for yourself, that is not only a dangerous but a very sad place to be. Now, I understand that a lot of self-care, or a lack of it, can come from a lack of self-love. I went to college with a guy he was an incredible human being. He was intelligent, he was an excellent chef, and we're talking at like 21. Like, he was incredible. He had multiple learning disabilities as he was growing up, but because he was so different, he was so abused, and he had such a low opinion of himself, he would cook gourmet meals for his friends, but refused to feed himself. Like, he would literally eat like 2 family-sized bags of chips for a meal before he like just made a box of mac and cheese for himself or something like that. And it stemmed from a feeling of, I don't even deserve it. You know, not even like I'm so lazy, I don't even deserve it. So a lot of failure to support yourself can sometimes come from a position of, in my own eyes, I don't even seem worthy of it. Now, what I will tell you is that if you are on this earth and you are breathing, then you are worthy of a lot more than that. You are worthy of having friendships. You are worthy of having finances. You know, like, you don't have to live like you are scum that is stuck to the bottom of a dumpster. Okay, that's what's crazy, and people don't know that. Like, we are fearfully and wonderfully made from our Creator, and there is a level of, even if we don't believe it, God believed in us enough to send His Son to die for us, so that we could live a better life. You know, so even if we don't believe it, we can at least find ourselves in a position where we can believe what God believes in, right? Okay, so let me check my notes. So that kind of touches up on the accountability side of it, where we may find ourselves in a position to where others depend on us, and we need to be not useless lumps when that time comes. I once heard it said something to the effect of, and every man is going to have a moment of truth. And just that line there is kind of scary. And there's going to be a circumstance, a relationship, where a man is going to have to really stop, pause, look, and reflect on his situation and be like, my life is about to change, and I need to take the left path or the right path. And it's kind of scary that a man could freeze up in that situation and do nothing. You know, I don't want you to be that person, men or ladies out there. You know, like, you're going to find yourself in a tricky situation at one point or another, and you are going to need to be able to rally yourself and perform in that moment. You know, I mean, I could speculate all sorts of examples, but it's like, if you can't even think ahead to find a ride to work after your car breaks down the following day, you need to take a reflection of yourself and really think about why you're doing the things that you do, or why you don't do the things that you ought to be doing. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road, because a little persistence here can go a really long way. This doesn't mean that you need to be making huge systematic changes in every aspect of your life, but understanding that a little work on the front end, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, a little work on the front end can save you a lot of fuss and trouble on the back end. Take, for example, every time you have a meal, you have dirty dishes that you need to wash. You could stack up all those dirty dishes in the sink and deal with them at the end of the week. That's not really a big deal. But if you're able to do a little bit of dishes at the end of each night and clean up your kitchen a little bit, then not only are those dishes getting done that are going to have to get done at some point, but you're not going to be dealing with the smell all week. Okay, does that make sense? And that bleeds over to every aspect of our lives, where, you know, if you can look at your own life soberly and understand that every little thing you do is affecting somebody else, whether you realize it or not. You know, even if we take the guy who doesn't show up to work example, his decision to stay up late and play video games is going to cause him to sleep in, which is going to cause him to feel crummy. His back's going to hurt, and he's not going to eat a proper meal, and he's not going to be prepared for work. If and when he ever does actually show up, he's going to be late, which means everybody at work is having to put in extra effort to cover for his stuff. They're going to be probably annoyed about it. You know, he's going to come in, he's going to feel guilty, he's going to feel annoyed at himself, he's going to feel frustrated, things like that. And, you know, the entire shift might suffer because of it, because he wanted to stay up late. You know what I mean? So a little accountability, even within yourself and with your own heart, like, goes a long way. You know what I mean? And even just a decision like, I'm going to go to bed at 10 o'clock every night, or I'm going to try to go to bed at 10 o'clock every night, so I'm at least for sure in bed by midnight. You know, even little changes like that, if you did nothing else and you did one little change like that, eventually that becomes a habit, and then eventually you can latch onto another thing and do a new thing. And suddenly 3 months, 6 months down the road, you'll see your life is changing, which is what you need when you feel like that scum on the bottom of a dumpster. Anyway, that's it. Tell me what you think. If you think I missed anything, or if you disagree with anything I said, put it down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinion, and if you have any suggestions on videos, put that down there as well, because I want to read all the comments and I want to make videos based on what the viewers are asking for. If you want to get a hold of me, I will have an email or a Facebook page that you can get a hold of me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.